Hello everybody and welcome back to the Dragon's Library for our first review of 2023, which is actually a review of something from 2022 that I mentioned in my best of the year list. Yep. So, I've been kind of working on this because I kind of still want to say more about it than I did in the, end of the year stuff. And, there's not really much out to review yet. I'm still waiting on Forspoken to come out. I just, about finished High on Life on Tuesday, when I'm recording this, and I basically haven't found anything. All the stuff that's still gonna come out, I'm gonna start coming out like next week, so, I'm probably gonna do High on Life this Saturday if I have the time. We'll see how that works out, but whatever. Anyway, moving on to the review. Today we have The Menu, and it's sort of a weird comedy horror movie from 2022. Now, I actually only saw this, like, in the beginning of January, because when it first came out, I had other stuff going on, I was really busy, I was only getting like one video out a week, and I just didn't really notice it. I'd seen a few trailers and it looked mildly interesting, so let's get into it. Basically, there's this exclusive restaurant that hosts, nightly things for like $12,000, and this small group of guests gets invited to go. Invited are some regulars, these rich guys who have a relationship with the owner, and this food critic, as well as the two main characters, I should say. This strange sort of like food fanatic, he's like the super fan of the chef who runs the place, and his girlfriend, or at least what we're told is his girlfriend. It gets more interesting later on. And the whole island that this restaurant is on, it's literally just a single island, a really small island, and a single restaurant. And after they get there, they start, going through these very artful, like weird and fancy foods. But then there's this turning point halfway through where it starts getting a little malicious, or maybe even dangerous, and then suddenly someone's lost a finger and they're being told they're going to be killed by the time dessert comes. And yeah, that's your horror movie. It's interesting, so let's get into why. First up, just the premise. I kind of like the idea of like a very strange, exclusive restaurant where they're all being poked at for why they're here. Because every single person in the restaurant, aside from the main character, is there for a reason. That's actually what sets off the something's not quite right meter. When the characters get there, they have to like say who they are and why they're there. And when they go up to the receptionist, like sort of the second in command of the chef, who guides them through the guided tour shortly after. She's like, "Oh, you're this person." It's like, no, and it was his old girlfriend. Apparently, I'm getting into like the main character, played by, I believe it's Anya Taylor-Joy. I believe is the main character for this one. I want to say. Let's see. Yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy. She's Margaret, and I'm going to get into that whole thing later, but for now, let's just say that it sets off the weird alarm. They're very specific about, "Oh, you didn't call us to tell us about that, Mr. Mr. Tyler. You didn't call us about that." And the chef is very like, "Why are you here? Who are you?" And you get the feeling that everyone was planned for. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. As they go through, get the whole island thing, and food starts coming out. At first, it's just like very weird things. Like first, it's just like I think one of the things is literally like a breadless bread plate, essentially. So like a lot of the things you would dip bread in, but without any of the bread to go with it, because bread is peasant food throughout history. History food critique, and things start getting weird, like little off things that don't quite work out right. Like the one of the food critics that had been here before is like, "Oh, this is it's great, but like, look, there's a minor flaw in the way they prepared this, and you can clearly see it in the presentation. Not really the taste, but the presentation. It's like something is cracked, essentially. It's the phrase I remember in the movie. And one of the waiters comes over to her with a big bowl of stuff. It's like, "More crack stuff for you, ma'am." And it's just like, okay, that's a little passive-aggressive and weird. And as it goes on, there's this couple there that are like regulars, and they're kind of getting the vibe of something's not quite right. You know what? We're just gonna go leave. We're just gonna leave. So they get up to leave, and they're like, "I'm sorry, you need to sit down for your meal." It's like, I can handle this. Oh, really? You'll handle this? Which hand? It's like, which hand, sir? It's like, if you don't know, we'll choose for you. It's like, I'm sorry, wait, what? And they're like, all right, fine, left hand, index finger, and they chop it off. And that's the gut moment where you're like, okay, something's completely off. And it turns out every single one of them are there because they either personally pissed off the owner or are part of the reason he's finally snapped. And the whole thing is he's going to torment each of them throughout this meal, and then at the end, they're all going to die, including the chef and his cooks, who have all agreed to die with him. And actually, the finger chop one is right after one of them blows their head out right before one of the next dishes, too. So, basically, though, the thing is, he doesn't know who Margit is. And it turns out she's an escort for Tyler. He identifies her as someone who's a working class person, someone who serves others, who's been there. And his whole thing is, are you on our side or theirs? You're dying either way, but would you like to die as a member of the cooks? You know, someone with purpose? Or one of these lazy assholes who have kind of just been the worst people throughout history as an eater? And it is really interesting watching it happen. I really enjoyed it. I actually kind of liked the ending, too, which was very interesting. I think it was an interesting way. I'm not going to say what happens, but I do think it's interesting. I also found the final dessert dish to be hilarious. I'm going to leave that one for you guys to figure out. So, with that basic premise and why I like it, let's move on to the actors, because I do think there are a few standouts here. First, we have Ralph Fiennes. You're not going to really see any big names here, as Chef Slowik. And he does a great job being like this very artsy, distant chef who feels like he's weighed down by the world. I've really liked him portrayed as the villain. I think he did a really good job. Another one I really want is Anya Taylor-Joy as Margit. She's essentially an escort who decided to go with Tyler, the creepy foodie, to this dinner, who was lured by Tyler to the restaurant to be his girlfriend. Tyler also has some twist to him, which is really creepy, and, you know, about the fanaticism of fans. Really interesting. All in all, it's a well-executed horror movie with a good cast. Margit is definitely a standout. You also have Hong Cha as Elsa. She's sort of like the second in command of the chef. You have, I think it was Janet McTeer as Lillian, and Paul Oldestein as Ted. Yeah, I think those were the two. You also have these three rich assholes, which are played really well. So, all in all, some pretty good ones. You also have this movie guy and his assistant. I do love the moment, though, when they're going through the reasons why they're all here, and the assistant's like, I'm just here because of him. And it's like, what college did you go to? Yale? It's like, student debt? No, you died. It's like, okay. It's like, apparently that's a death sentence offense now. Yikes. It's like, yeah, I went to Yale. Do you have student debt? No. Then you die. Which, it's pretty funny, honestly. It's just very offhanded thing. I liked it. I mean, he's not exactly coming across as a moral person. He is a villain. And it's probably the pettiest reason for any of them to die, so I really, really enjoyed it. And some of them are there from some really petty bullshit, but I really enjoyed that one in particular. So, like I said, it's a good work of kind of comedic horror, which means you can both laugh and be a little horrified at this at the same time. And I think it manages that balance better than a lot of comedy horror does. A lot of comedy horror either becomes like completely unthreatening, which I think this actually does. It does seem threatening at times. However, it also comes across as very funny, especially the kind of like almost sort of tragic, but also sort of karmically right ending. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the ending. Very good. I like the twist with Slowik's past. And the movie is executed very well. So not really much more to say about this because it's very self-contained. Most of the movie takes place in like one room. And while it's not the most spectacular over-the-top thing you'll see, it is definitely an interesting take on sort of like the pretentiousness of artists, but also a takedown of people who find artists pretentious at the same time. Like they kind of go on both sides. I liked it. I really did. That's really most I can say about this. Is I really enjoyed it, and I think it's something unique. It's a fun experience that I haven't really encountered something like before. And, it was a lot of fun. The most annoying part of this movie for me is that I find it very hard to describe. Like, the best way I can put it is Chef goes nuts at a fancy exclusive restaurant with his, 12 guests. And, yeah, very interesting, very interesting. So, with that all said and done, let's move on to the conclusion. I think The Menu was a very good release from 2022. Unfortunately, it is most likely no longer in theaters where you are because it was released in the United States on November 18th, which means it just left theaters for us where I live. So I doubt it's still in theaters for you, but if it is, and you're looking for something to do on a Friday or Saturday, it is definitely worth checking out. If you like horror movies or comedy horror, I think you'll find us a good time. If you like something that's a little weird and offbeat, I think you'll enjoy The Menu. And I think it's a good 7 or 8 out of 10. You know what? I'll give this an 8 out of 10. I actually really had a lot of fun with this. With that all out of the way, let's move on to the announcements. So, hey everybody, it's 2023, getting started and stuff. We're going to have a game review, hopefully this Saturday, unless everything goes horribly, horribly wrong, because I'm actually working on some updates for the VR game I made with a friend. We're making a Mardi Gras update, because we live in one of the few places in the world that has Mardi Gras. Guess where that is. And as a result, I'm not sure how much I'm going to get done in the video. Hopefully I'll have it out by Saturday or Sunday. It might come out Sunday. And I'm going to do my best to get that ready for you guys. As for the streams, Forspoken's going to be coming out on the 24th. So next week, I'm going to be working on most likely some indie games, because I don't want to start another big game. I might play a little bit of Hollow Knight, might play some minor streams, might play some Bloodborne, who knows. I'm going to just kind of fill in the stream there, but if you want to watch me play some of the random indie games I get on itch.io, then, hey, check me out for the next week. After that, I'll be Forspoken, which is going to be awesome. I played the demo, looks great, it's going to be fun. So, yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.